Welcome to episode 22 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle are Chris, David, and Andres. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, bringing you the latest news, hottest takes, and all things WWE and AEW. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Send us your thoughts, questions, and wildest predictions to chitownshootpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll tackle your comments in the Chi-Town Shoot mailbag. Without further ado, gents, welcome back to another episode. I guess this is our Halloween special. And I guess our topic can kind of veer into Halloween because it's all about wrestling gimmicks. So you can bring up some spooky gimmicks that you think are amazing or terrible. We got David with your Rey Mysterio mask. Where did you get that mask, by the way? Is this like a new purchase?
Amazon, yeah.
Nice.
Halloween. I almost said Christmas because as soon as I said this, I was like, I'm gonna wear this on Christmas. Look at this.
I
mean,
yeah.
Throw on an ugly sweater.
Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
Christmas, fuck it.
Yeah. Match, running.
Heritage Month, you know, why not? Independence Day.
It's just gonna be my thing.
Did it have like multiple sizes, or was it like a one size fits all?
It's a one size fits most.
Yeah, it ain't gonna fit mine down. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's just
That shit would like reach up.
It's kind of pushing it on me. I think they had other ones, but I think it's just this brand that fits like this. This one kind of feels more like Halloweeny than like I'm actually gonna go run out and do a couple moonsaults, but
now it looks good.
it serves the purpose.
If I got that, I'd have to like cut off the back and then just like splay it on my face like I just scalped somebody. And
you gotta cut like a hole up top just so it just fits the sides of the head.
Yeah, because this thing ain't going past any masks.
Oh, trust me, I'm pushing it, dude.
ultimate muscle,
Yeah, exactly.
hair on top.
Ultimate muscle mask.
I got my hair hanging out, but more for breathing purposes.
Nice.
Well, we went to the Halloween party at our friend's place, and I did have an outfit. I wore a Star Trek outfit for because I just bought it in September because I went to a Star Trek convention. I was like, you know what? I paid like $40 for this, so I'm just gonna rewear it because I don't want to just wear it once and toss it. But what are you guys dressing up for Halloween? Is that something you guys do, or is it not really your thing now?
It hasn't been my thing for a bit, but this year's a little different if you can't tell.
Yeah, exactly. Do you get kids? Do you get kids at your house asking for candy? Do you open the door, or do you turn the porch light off?
I get the door until we're out of stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for us, it's they really show up at like 7 p.m., 6 p.m., and there's like a rush between 6 and 8, and then it just kind of dies down for us pretty quickly. I feel like a lot of them get it out earlier, so we don't normally have to like wait too long. But I mean, we still end up having candy left over. Historically, we have like that big jack-o'-lantern that I don't even know what we used it before. I think we did use it just for candy for like a party or something. And then, now it's just our candy holder. And I haven't bought any candy yet because I know if I buy it now, I'm going to like eat like at least a quarter of that candy. So I'm trying to wait as close as I can.
Daddy.
Hey, once a year, man.
You're like Uber from The Simpsons.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm like, it's like the purge for me. It's once a year. No rules. So, because otherwise, then I don't really eat too much candy. But yeah,
I have a terrible sweet tooth.
Yeah, I mean, I have ice cream, I guess, but that's also not that frequent. It's not like something that I have too often either. Chris, was that Alien? Is that for Halloween? Are you wearing that for Halloween?
What alien?
I don't know. There's something sticking out from the other
No.
side.
Yeah, no, I'm huge on Halloween, or we're huge on Halloween over here. So we got a UFO parked out in the front, couple blow up alien dolls, and this is gonna kind of complete the scaring of the children.
Nice.
I'll be a friendly alien though.
What's Arlene? Is Arlene complimenting your outfit?
No. Well, actually, she does have that blow up thing. That's like an alien like holding you on their neck or some shit.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
piggyback
yeah,
riding.
yeah. They're like kidnapping you.
Yeah. It's like this blow up thing. So she
I
got
want to
that.
see that. That should be funny.
Come on over. But our neighborhood gets pretty busy early, like 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, if all the kids start coming after school. And then
Did you guys take the day off?
I'm
Like,
just
aren't you guys working late?
working till like 3 or 4.
I'm gonna work out in this.
Hell yeah.
You should on Halloween.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
why
do
not?
it.
I am.
I bet
Should.
y'all see people like wearing freaking cat ears and shit on
Well, that's
day at the
stupid.
gym. They're like, well, you got to wear something,
It's stupid.
uh,
Sorry.
That's it.
fit and fashion
Gotta find my Michael Myers mask.
forward.
Find a Machoke bodysuit.
Is that what you wore last year? You were on the treadmill in your Michael Myers suit?
Yeah.
Dang.
Getting your reps in.
Maybe I'll wear that next
Nice.
year. I'll just borrow it from you. And Andres, how about you? What are you doing for Halloween? Anything crazy, or is it just work?
Probably just work. Like on the actual day of Halloween, I don't really do anything, but like, obviously parties and stuff. That's when I'll attend.
Mhm.
Or like the weekend before and stuff. But like, yeah, this year I got a second job. So what is Halloween on it's in
Thursday,
a couple of days? So Thursday,
Yeah.
I'm definitely working that night.
as of this recording.
Yeah. So no, unfortunately nothing going on this year for me for that.
That's
And
cool. Maybe you
I'm gonna
can
go
a
to-
spooky movie or something.
I'm gonna go to an event at Sub T as soon as we're done with this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
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 That's awesome. Well, I think we could jump into our first segment of the podcast today. And that is a recent story that was reported by Fightful. And it essentially was giving you a little extra details about that very, I'd say, iconic confrontation between Brett and Shawn Michaels in 2010. As everybody knows, Shawn Michaels played an important role in what we call in wrestling the Montreal Screwjob at Survivor Series in 1997. And apparently, Tyson Kidd played an important role in getting Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart to reconcile. Their feud between Shawn and Bret basically lasted for years before they eventually reconciled. And in 2010, Bret Hart basically returned, and I think his first segment on Raw was between him and Shawn Michaels. So in an interview with The Takedown on SI, I think that's Sports Illustrated, Natalia shared how her husband, TJ Wilson, known as Tyson Kidd, helped facilitate their reconciliation. She said TJ had something to Bret or had said something to Bret like, I had a really great talk with Shawn and he was awesome. He was so nice to me and he was so nice to Natty. He was just such a cool guy. He was giving me advice and being really helpful. Shawn had said that he had felt so bad about everything that had happened with you guys in the past. TJ was the one that opened up the conversation between Bret and Shawn for them to kind of reconcile. So we can all thank TJ for being the person that opened that door because TJ is somebody that Bret really respects and he trusts his word. Shawn was so nice to us, and I think Shawn, for a long time, felt, I think he felt bad, Natalia said. Natalia also commented on how wrestling has changed over the years, as she noted that it was very cutthroat back in the day, whereas the business was quote unquote kinder these days. I also grabbed another piece of a story that was kind of around the same time of this reporting story. In a recent interview with Bret, from the Wrestling Classic during the Vancity Card Show. Brett was asked to comment on on when he found out about the appearance, if from a recent his recent appearance on Raw between himself and Gunther. He said maybe 4 or 5 days ahead of time. They called and asked me if I wanted to go down. I was like, well, what else am I doing? It was really special. That was the Raw in Calgary. I didn't expect that kind of reaction. Of course, it's been a long time since I walked out in front of a Calgary crowd. When asked about Gunther saying that Hart was second to his favorite wrestler, Goldberg, the legend simply said, I think Bill got off light. So one last jab in there from Bret Hart. But do you guys remember did you guys watch that specific episode when it aired between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart? I felt like it was pretty big in wrestling circles at the time.
I watched it.
Yeah,
I did
did you watched it live?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little about this off air, but it was like there was like this jolt of like kind of like positive energy during that time because that was a little middling during like 2009, 8, 9, 10 in terms of like WWE and just its product. It wasn't as great as it is now, and this was a very big I'd say moment in that time period. This was when TNA I think switched to Impact, and that was when it was being run by Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff. I think Dixie Carter was still in the circle of executives, but
She
I
was.
guess, yeah, so they were just influential in the creative process, let's say that. And yeah, I mean, when I first saw uh the segment, I mean, I was freaking out because when I got back into wrestling in 2006, in early 2006, I was reading all about, the lore that I missed and that I didn't really look into before. And that was Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart. Like a lot of that really just resonated with me. I had both of their DVDs, both of their documentaries. I read Bret Hart's book, which was like 500 pages long. I remember buying it in 2008 at a Barnes and Noble. I think I still have the book somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. But it was really good, and yeah, I was just very invested in both of their careers and just reading up on it. And Shawn Michaels, of course, I was seeing his basically twilight of his career, but a lot of people would say that his second half of his career was probably some of his best work that he's ever done. And again, seeing Shawn with Bret Hart, I mean, I thought that was something really special. I don't know, what did you guys think about that segment, David? If you had any thoughts.
I remember I wasn't watching wrestling that much when that went down,
Right.
and I happened to just have like a Monday free because I was actually in sports around that time of the year and just that time in life. And I remember I remember being excited, and then I also remember being like semi excited for what was going on in TNA because like Rob Van Dam had a cage match that night, and it was like one of their first Mondays, if not their first. So like I just remember like actually like for the first time in a while I had been like excited to like see what was gonna go down, and they knocked out the Brett segment right away. So after that, I was just kind of like, and then it really keep me around too much after that. But it was nice to like watch them hug it out.
Yeah.
I was flipping, well, I wasn't flipping channels. I was flipping streaming links. But yeah, I was bouncing between TNA Impact. Was that Impact? Was that when Jeff Hardy came back or went to TNA or Impact? Sorry, because
That was
he
his
had,
second run in TNA.
right. And that was like when he had like the weird short black hair, wasn't it? Something like
Probably.
that. Yeah,
That
I remember he had like that. He had like a huge run with WWE. He was like the WWE champion and all that shit the year before, and then uh, I think he had another drug violation and got suspended, and I think they let him go. and then he ended up in Impact in TNA. So, I mean that was just a wild sight to see. What about you, Andres? Do you remember that segment? What
Oh
did you
yeah,
think
yeah,
about that take place? Because I know you're a big Shawn Michaels fan.
yeah. No, it was unbelievable that they actually were able to be like see them both in the ring together for the first time. Um, I do remember the exchange of words too, like Bret Hart saying, like, obviously, yeah, like I had something to do with it, but I still firmly believe you deserved it. I was like,
Yes.
oh, shit. Like, damn. But no, it was a really good segment. I mean, it was nice to see them hug it at the end. And I think they did a nice thing too, where Sean looked like he was going to give him a sweet chin music. Because
Mhm.
there was a point where he like turned and I'm like, whoa, no. But no, it was beautiful. It was awesome. But to David's point too, like, think like after that, like during that era, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
something else to watch.
I was like, oh wait,
It's
he
big.
can't wrestle. Never mind.
Yeah. But no, the segment was awesome. I actually found out too, like, um, Brett and Sean actually spoke before they actually saw each other in the back and said hello, but they wanted to not talk much at all. They wanted to save everything for the ring.
Keep
So
it
they actually got it on camera too. They showed them like Brett was sitting with I think with Natalia and stuff, and actually Sean went up to him, said hello, and then just like walked away. They
Damn.
both had that same agreement. They're like, okay, we're gonna say what we actually have to say to each other in the ring. And I'm like, that's cool. That's
I
some
mean,
good ass TV right there.
yeah, I can't imagine like I mean being Bret Hart. I mean, or Shawn, you know what, or Vince for that matter, because it's. I
God.
mean, like I guess he was inducted in 2006, so I mean he had to have had interactions with Vince, obviously.
Oh
Otherwise,
yeah.
there's no reason why he wouldn't be inducted. But yeah, I'm just very curious what their mindset was because. I mean, Brett held on to that for a long time, and I feel, I mean, and now I guess the Goldberg thing that has lasted much
Replace.
longer than
Yeah.
than the
That's his
Shawn
new
Michaels.
high.
Yeah,
Goldberg came around and HBK does, or I'm sorry, Bret Hart doesn't hate Sean anymore. So
I mean that happened not too long after, so now that one just survived longer because I guess he's cool with Shawn. I mean, I think he thinks Vince is a POS just based on probably those recent allegations.
yeah,
I don't know if he I think he forgave him at that moment, but yeah, I think there was still um
I think
some
he
kind of
never
issues.
trusted him ever again. And then it's like you
It's just
got
business.
his family members that work backstage, so he knows enough about that guy to not ever care about him ever again.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess he would treat it as business, and I think in his own heart of hearts, no pun intended, he did want to get back in front of that wrestling crowd and just have some kind of sense of finality to it. I mean, he did have a run. They even gave him the United States Championship, if you guys remember. He was the United
and
States champion for like a month or two, something like that. I think John Cena may have helped him win
Yeah.
that. That was I gotta say that was kind of cool because I never saw Brett holding a title before, so I think it was cool for what it was, including the WrestleMania 26 match that they had. It made logical sense for him to face Vince, but it was no five-star classic by any imagination. Do you guys remember watching that match at WrestleMania 26?
Oh yeah.
It was like the whole Hart family against
Yeah.
Vince McMahon. And if you didn't, I mean, I'd still watch it just because I think it was entertaining. But there were periods where like he had to pull out a chair and he sat down.
That's pretty
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, I think he used that chair to then hit him, so that was good. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it was like tough for me to watch because like I didn't even watch like too much WWF Brett, but like it was like so far from like Brett versus Booker T and stuff like that that
I
it was
mean,
just
yeah,
like, oh, what?
yeah. I mean, he was what per like early 50s then, I think. Yeah, it was like early 50s, and I mean, he's had a stroke and all that, so I guess you got to give him that. And I mean, I'd rather him be in the ring and do something than I guess not at all. You know, and if it's something that he wanted to do, I think that was good. And obviously now I'm kind of hoping that there's a Brett Goldberg segment in the future.
Crown Jewel, baby.
Yeah, Crown
No,
Jewel.
no.
You know they'll pay that extra money for that
That's where
shit.
people's dreams come true is Crown Jewel. That's where storylines stay in a vacuum, I feel like, and then get ignored.
I think Brett's gonna stand on business with this one.
Yeah. Chris, how about you? What did you think about that segment? If
I mean, I was super hyped because I was a big Bret Hart fan as well. So just seeing him, and I was wondering, did he dye his hair? Because I was like,
Yeah, he
they
did.
got brown hair.
Well, it was
No.
just wet, but he dyed it. It was brownish. Whatever.
Yeah,
Typical Vince protocol.
He
But
just did Triple H.
it was cool just hearing. Did they give him his old music or did they do like a new variation of it? I don't remember.
That was the remix. Yeah, I didn't like the remix.
Yeah,
Yeah, I prefer his older one.
I mean that was like essentially all the way through WrestleMania, as far as like him kind of showing up more or less, right? Because
Yeah, I mean, he was basically on TV. I think most of that WrestleMania season.
what month was that? When did that match or that segment actually happen? Is it like a summer
Between
thing?
Shawn Michaels?
Mm-hmm.
No, that was at the beginning of that year, 2010. So
Okay.
it was January 4th, 2010, because I looked it up.
Okay.
And then that basically kind of kickstarted that WrestleMania season because he had the match that year in that WrestleMania, and that was probably, I mean, late March, early April, whenever 26 happened in Arizona. But yeah, and then he had that United States Championship run afterwards, I think. And then he was kind of like an on again, off again manager as well. I feel like he might have even been like a general manager for like a little bit too.
Is that when they were going through
Everybody
different
was a general
managers?
manager.
Yeah.
You're right. That's true. Everyone is a general manager. That might have been the Raw guest host thing that lasted like years. That felt like forever at the time.
Was that the not to backtrack, but that Jeff Hardy TNA thing? Was that the beginning of the drugged out Victory Road match or whatever it was?
That's what
Was in that contract frame
Yeah.
Victory.
because when he went there, his last part of business was probably putting over Punk.
That was 2011. So yeah, so it was like if he debuted, because I think Jeff Hardy debuted during one of those like head to head.
He did because for whatever reason, other than Jeff Hardy and Rob Van Dam, like in typical Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan fucking manner, they're like, oh, I know what will keep up with WWE in the ratings, us.
Yeah.
And then they had that whole thing where like fucking the outsiders kept trying to get them to join them, or like kept trying to hang around, and Hogan's like, it's different this time, boys.
Wasn't Vince Russo back too?
They were the band in NWO font. And they wouldn't let Walton in the building. Like that was part of the whole like storyline.
Yeah, that was wild. They had Scott Hall, they had Sean Waltman, Jeff Jarrett, Jeff Hardy, Ric Flair. That's when Ric Flair was like, I'm unretired, baby.
This is when he had that woo off with Jay Lethal that was always showing up on the internet.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I think his retirement lasted only 2 years. That's crazy. Not even 2 years.
2 days.
Oh my god. Like,
you mean the post Shawn Michael match? Like that return?
Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair was 2008. That was at WrestleMania 24.
Okay.
That was like in April. And then this, like his debut was like 2010. It was like between January and February of that year. I don't remember. I think it might have been that same episode. So it's crazy. Yeah, Nasty Boys, Orlando Jordan, Bubba the
Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was also like everyone was like, why does Hogan keep bringing his friends?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I remember my friends put that on because they were all kind of like happy about like seeing all these guys coming back. But I remember watching and just being like, this kind of sucks. At least I thought.
Yeah, Like my early TNA experience is like seeing the six-sided ring and like watching the X Division go crazy. So then like I just remember when they're like, we're going head to head with WWE, and then it's like there's a four-sided ring now. All of a sudden, like everybody that was cool is kind of like uncool.
Yeah, I
Or
mean, like
typical Hogan.
that's always interesting how like when they feel like the mentality when push comes to shove, they always feel like they have to like lose their identity in order to like compete, and that comes with I'll say some of that was AEW as well, but WCW, Impact, like your trademark is the six-sided ring, and then you're like, okay, well, let's do a regular four-sided ring.
That
So
was all Hogan and Bischoff, allegedly.
I mean, you
I'm
can
sure.
arguably say that Sting's best run was kind of in TNA. Be
Third Angle.
Yeah,
You think like even versus WCW, you're saying is
I
run in
think
TNA
so.
better?
Honestly,
Well,
as far as like just his character and the way it was kind of handled, at least, because there was definitely just iconic stuff with WCW Sting, but just like the way his championship run was kind of like handled overall, and just all that shit just got really convoluted right when it should have been really good, and then it just went off the rails. Like I'm pretty sure that TNA was his better run. AEW was, the cherry on top, but his actual in-ring was best in TNA. Not to make this a TNA Sting podcast, but yeah, had to be said.
TNA wins again.
Yeah.
I mean, I brought it up. That was the head-to-head, but yeah, I mean, I think that specific moment in time, it like I got a taste of those Monday Night Wars because I was too young to like really comprehend it the first go around. Like that was not something that obviously as a fucking child brain person I was very like cognizant of. So just seeing this, even if it wasn't the same per se, just having some kind of semblance of that was pretty cool. And I mean, I think all the debuts and stuff was also pretty cool. That never fails to amuse me. So but I think we can end it the segment there, and then we can the wrestling gimmicks and characters. Wrestling gimmicks is what I want to talk about in this segment, and this will take up the rest of the podcast. And it's a big subject because it's kind of the bread and butter and like the one of the pillars of what makes a good wrestler, a good pro wrestling show. Like you can't have like a show without wrestlers with gimmicks. You know what I mean? Like that really makes pro wrestling tick, I think. So I think I want to go around the room. I had a bunch of questions, and I think we can just kind of weave through them, and we'll just see where the conversation goes because this is such a big topic. I wanted to try and focus it a little bit. We can start broad and go a little more narrow or more niche. But what do you think is what do you guys think is more important for a wrestler's success? In-ring skills or character work? And can one exist without the other in today's wrestling landscape? And I'll ask you, David, first.
Character.
Why?
Character is what resonates with the audience. While moves are cool and they have their own place in terms of like awe and like their own category and what people like, the main thing that people adapt to or what they really resonate with is the character. People like Eddie Guerrero or even like even though I don't really think that highly of Bryan Danielson, like his character is that he's a great in-ring worker and everybody just loves the underdog type wrestler, even though he's really good and he shouldn't be an underdog. He's considered one.
Mm-hmm.
Just that whole feeling of like building a community off of whoever is in the ring. I think a really good example of right now is like LA Knight. A guy that got himself over with his character while he's good in ring. he's kind of like a throwback to like New Gen and Attitude Era, where he's not necessarily like a big moveset guy.
Hmm.
Where while he has cool moves, his moveset doesn't make him.
And do you? So you're saying, well, can one exist without the other? Would you say? Like, can you have a wrestler with just good moves and no gimmick?
Yeah, there's plenty of them, and you don't know their names.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess what you say is like you basically kind of need both. What about you, Andres? What do you think? What's more important for wrestler success, in-ring skills or character work?
Definitely character work. Something that actually like to David's point too, like something that the crowd can resonate with, something that gets like everyone excited, and also to see you evolve as that character too is actually like a very big thing for you to grow because a lot of people will reinvent themselves later. How many times can like a character like be stale and be good, and then you see them change it up, and then all of a sudden they're like hot shit again, you know?
Mhm.
Obviously in-ring work is very good too, but like no, the actual character development is great. That's like probably maybe like 75% of it, I'd say. Because I've seen other wrestlers, like Mick Foley in an interview said that like I've seen some of the greatest workers I've ever seen in ring fumble in front of the camera. And they're just terrible. And then that shot their career down, you know? They're
Mhm.
really good in the ring. They're one of the best workers. They're one of the hardest working guys in the room. And they learned, they're great. But when it came to like actually being the character, it came to talking, they're just horrendous. And unfortunately that's just where they ended, you know? So honestly being the gimmick and being the characters, I would say way more important than in-ring skill, even though in-ring skill is also a very important thing to have too.
Look at Hulk Hogan. He's over for years.
Yeah.
Look at The Rock.
Look at Cena. People are a lot of negative fans will say Cena is one of the worst wrestlers ever, but his gimmicks and everything are amazing too.
Mhm. And I'm going to touch on that a little later because I want to ask you guys about the evolution of someone's character and gimmick because there are some people who never change their gimmick and it works well for them, and then for others it becomes almost a necessity to evolve, and sometimes it's a gamble, and but it becomes, they get a second life in, a second career run, like Hulk Hogan, for example. But Chris, I'm going to ask you a different question. Do you feel like gimmicks are still as important today as they were in the past? Has the role of a larger than life persona evolved with modern wrestling fans? Do you feel like that concept of the gimmick has changed?
Are you saying like as far as just like the importance of a gimmick, like in today's modern wrestling world? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, it's equally as important, if not more important, because of just the sheer amount of people that they try to reach as far as an audience goes. So it needs to resonate with as many people as possible. Now, just to kind of use the moveset thing, sometimes the moveset is the person's gimmick. So, the Will Ospreys or whatever, they always use that as their kind of shtick when they're doing like a promo or something like that, how they're the best and all this. So it could be part of a gimmick, just like a finishing move or something like that is part of a gimmick that's synonymous with like, Tombstone Pile Driver or the 5 moves of doom of John Cena in that specific era of John Cena. So for sure, gimmicks are a good gimmick is necessary to get that person over.
Do you feel like, 'cause, like for me, I think when I'm looking at wrestling, has, I feel like every wrestler has some kind of gimmick, even if it's not necessarily good. And I'm trying to think like Ricochet, for example, like just as an example, I guess. I guess like if you just look at him, most people would say he doesn't have a gimmick, but I guess can if you describe him as like a high flying person, do you feel like that's a gimmick? Is that the same thing as like I mean, I guess that's not really a character, right?
I
Is
think
it?
that's more of a move set.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to work it out in my head if like Like someone like a Ricochet has a gimmick, you know? His name is Ricochet. I mean, he bounces back and forth. I guess that could be considered a gimmick because you're high flying, bouncy person, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I guess you can consider
I
that
would
as a
say
gimmick.
I'd say that is somewhat of a gimmick. Now, is it like, the next 10 wrestlers possibly with that very similar gimmick? It's not as like iconic like The Undertaker or something like that. Sure, like it's maybe not like the best gimmick, but it's some variation of a gimmick. It's something that is him but dialed up to 11 or whatever. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I would say it's a gimmick because it's not Ricochet is not his actual name, right?
Let's ask Ricochet. He'll block us.
Well, I assume I
Okay.
assume it's not his real name, so it's
No.
it's part of his gimmick
He
or
got
character.
he got the name in the Indies. He couldn't think of a name, and someone was like, "Go, you bounce around." You're
Yeah, his
Ricochet
his name is actually Trevor Dean Mann with two N's.
Yeah, pretty far away
from
from that.
Kentucky.
Oh, apparently he was born in Alton, Illinois. I don't know where that is.
Close
Oh
enough
shit.
to Kentucky to just move to Kentucky.
Yeah, it's on the
Southwest.
Mississippi River, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like kind of what you said. I feel like that is a gimmick, but then basically what you're doing is that I can think of other people who have a similar gimmick, and then you're just basically uh, the same thing. You know, like you're not setting yourself sticking out from the rest of the crowd. You know, you just kind of blend in with everybody else. So a gimmick it may be, but it's not something that sticks out. And like a character maybe, but it doesn't feel like your character, like your person. And I think that John Cena is also kind of like a good example. Like when he started as a prototype, that's technically a gimmick, but like you're basically like a creator wrestler. Like it's a character, but it's
Yeah.
not you.
I would say
And
it's not
yeah,
a character. I think
you
there's
think so?
a distinction between character and gimmick. Because character would be more like The Undertaker or Kane or something like that with a bit more meat on the bone, I guess I would say, versus a gimmick is I mean you could essentially be like, well, this guy's a deranged lunatic or whatever and he's wearing like normal clothes, you know. They, I guess you could argue that's character too, but in my head, a character is something that is a bit more,
Thought out.
more. Yeah, right, exactly.
Like
Thought out.
Midian, I think is a gimmick. Like naked Midian is a gimmick. Wouldn't you say? Like he comes out, runs out
Wow.
naked. He's got a
Forgot about
fanny
that.
pack on his front. Like that's a gimmick technically. Like that's his character.
A
Yeah.
lot of
He's
times
naked.
when Midian was having to do that, he was off acid.
Really? He
Or
was
Yeah.
they were
off
just
acid or
like,
he was
or
on acid.
same thing.
We do not promote
Well, I guess
drugs.
so. Yeah, I guess he could also be just having cold sweats and he's in
A lot of
uh
shrooms. He does a
yeah.
lot of that. He's pretty cool.
He's like, that's the only way I was able to do it, probably.
Wrestling hippie.
Get naked in front of 16,000 people. But you know what? Speaking of, well, I'm going to say that's a terrible gimmick, but gimmicks that are good and bad. What wrestling gimmick do you guys feel has stood the test of time and still resonates with people today? And why do you think it has such longevity? And I can start because they didn't answer. Well, I guess I was kind of answering the question while you guys were talking. But I mean, we already mentioned The Undertaker. I feel like the obvious ones, right? Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Rey
like Bret Hart,
Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio, Bret Hart. I mean, I guess his is excellence of execution. He's the hitman, you
The
know.
shades, the jacket,
Yeah, I mean, like that's like it's iconic. Like the
There's a
things you can
look.
point out. Yeah, there's a
the
look, there's a
guitar,
style.
that guitar right in the beginning. His
Yeah.
drop.
I mean, the music too. I mean, that's another thing that really
Uh,
helps, and
Oh yeah.
something that I feel like, like in today's landscape, and thank God, apparently, Def Rebel is not being
Big Mark, baby.
renewed
Yeah, bring
in
him
their
on.
music contracts. I mean, like I don't know if they're what's his name, the one before Johnson.
Jim Johnston.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna come back because he's in like late 70s. There's no way they're gonna want somebody who's like a newer person, but need they and I trust Triple H to like know like the kind of music that he feels like is necessary because he was a wrestler during that time. He understands what is good. Like he's also like a fan of metal and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like he should be smart enough to understand, you know, what wrestlers need and a producer who can help create that. You know, I don't think Jim Johnston is like the only person that can pull something off. So
They need
anyway,
Motorhead
yeah,
or
I mean
Megadeth.
yeah, like wrestling gimmicks that are good also need good music. But going back to that question, I guess David, what do you think what gimmicks stood the test of time? And I think that's the other important part is it still resonates with fans today because there are some that like let's say the $1 Million Man. I don't know if he necessarily resonates with people now. Not if he comes out, I guess he'll get a pop. But there are some that I feel like will always get that big ass pop. You know?
Ric Flair,
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes, Macho Man. Those are
True.
like, those are gimmicks that people remember forever, or even hold like pop cultural relevance to this day. Rey Mysterio. I even like for Rey Mysterio, it's like kind of funny because I went to that indie event where Kalisto was the main event, and when he came out, the kids that weren't aware of what's currently going on in wrestling were just like, "Oh my God, Rey Mysterio!"
Hmm.
And then they seen like went up closer and seen his mask was different. They're like, "Wait a minute, that's not Rey Mysterio."
And I guess, the interesting thing about Rey Mysterio is I feel like it's also partially because it was a character that was unique in the United States because I mean in Mexico you have a bunch of masked wrestlers, right? So like I guess if you put Rey Mysterio like in like a Mexican wrestling promotion, do you feel like he would stick out?
Well, that's how he got here. Was the fact
Yeah.
that he stood out.
Yeah, but
But
that's what
he,
I
he,
mean.
he
Yeah, yeah.
I think one thing that a lot of people underestimate about like Rey Mysterio was just like how like he was really gung ho at a young age to bring like Mexican wrestling to America, and I think he also worked really hard to not avoid what a lot of Mexican wrestlers couldn't, like
Mhm.
from Vince McMahon or even in WCW. So like I think it has a lot to do with that
Yeah, I mean,
for
I'm
him.
sure there was a lot of pushback. Didn't they try to like remove his mask? Didn't he like have no mask for a little bit?
He went no mask, yeah,
WCW.
and that was really hard for him. And then when he was getting signed by WWE, he was working indies no mask. Uh, but then like when he got to WWE, Vince was just like, "Where's your mask?"
Hmm.
And then that's when he like realized, oh, okay, like they want me to be me. They want to pretend like all that didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, Rey Mysterio is a really good example of that. Like, especially like from an American lens, when they're used to always just seeing what they think is a wrestler, and then you have someone like Rey Mysterio who looks like he popped out of a comic book, and I mean, I think he's good on the mic. He's not necessarily The Rock, but like, I still think that he has charisma and his move set. I mean, that's one of the things I think carries him as well. But I mean, the music, the character, like his personality itself, like is really good. And compared to like a Sin Cara, for example, that when Sin Cara, when they introduced him, and I had hopes for Sin Cara, if I'm being honest, because I thought when he showed up, I mean, it was cool. His entire face was covered. He had the blue lights and whatever, and blue yellow lights, and then he'd like jump into the ring. I guess he had a trampoline, but that I don't care.
Didn't he
And
botch his first entrance? His first live one?
I don't know. I do know that he did have botches. I don't
You know,
remember if he
Yeah.
botched his first entrance.
you know who was the second Sin Cara, right?
I forgot. It's on the tip of my
The
tongue.
GOAT, Tama Tonga, baby.
Was it?
Or no, Tongaloa.
Tongaloa.
It's Tongaloa because he had that NXT gimmick where he was Camacho or Hernandez, one of those, and came out in a lowrider bike.
Oh yeah. That was Tongaloa.
Oh yeah, speaking of bad gimmicks, Tongaloa being a Mexican guy.
Oh, ooh, I think that kind of scratched this specific. Okay, so you said that's a bad gimmick. A Samoan guy being a Mexican guy. What
Tongan.
about, or a Tongan guy? Sorry. What about seeing me being fucking racist? Where did I do this? So what do you think about uh oh my God, why did I just forget his name? The Samoan who was a Japanese sumo wrestler.
Yoko?
Yokozuna. What do you think of Yokozuna as a gimmick?
That's tough because we weren't that smart back then
Yeah.
to know. That's like not to reverse to hit you with the Uno reverse. Razor Ramon is great.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just the white guy
Yeah.
playing a Cuban.
Yeah, exactly. So
True.
And
interesting predicament.
I'm not speaking for everybody, but he deserves a spot on Hispanic Heritage Month. He fooled
Yeah.
he fooled generations, bro.
He was that good, yeah.
And
We'll take him.
he fooled everybody's mom, grandma, great grandma.
Yeah, I feel like no one can deny. I mean, I'm sure there are people who feel like there's a problem with that. And I mean, I wouldn't take that away from them because I could see how it could be problematic because, I mean, you're basically like, a white guy pretending to be a Cuban guy. And then you're basically,
So was the movie. So was Scarface.
yeah,
Yeah, so was Scarface, yep.
yeah.
Isn't Santino Hispanic? Or am I making that up?
Santino is,
Marella.
No,
No,
I think
he
he's
was-
legit Italian.
he's
Is he?
Italian, but he just has like a regular American.
Yeah, he's just hams
voice.
it up.
Kofi Kingston, I mean, that's another one. He's charged with a Jamaican accent.
EJ.
I just saw that segment where I don't know what was going on, but like Cody Rhodes was there, DX was there, and then like
Oh yeah,
Kofi
I shared that
Kingston was like,
clip on
guys, we got to work
our
together and
story.
stuff like that. Huh?
Yeah, I shared that clip on our Instagram.
Oh, did you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it was. Was it? It might have been WWE that actually reshared it, but yeah, like that was when Kofi just changed, like switched, stopped using his accent or whatever. He just started talking in his regular voice, and then Triple H is like, "Wait, what happened to your Jamaican accent? Or didn't you have a Jamaican accent or something like
Yeah,
that?"
it's like, he's like, I don't got a question. In fact, I got a problem.
And I don't know if that was scripted. I feel like it must have been, unless he just messed up and forgot to go into his Jamaican accent.
I mean, it worked.
I mean, that was around the stupid putt time.
Yeah, I mean, I still enjoyed like look at some of the characters that still kind of survived through that. Cody Rhodes, Kofi Kingston, CM Punk. I mean, like they're. I'm not gonna say. Well, no, those two that wasn't in their prime. Like Cody
Ryan Danielson.
Ryan Danielson. I mean that whole crop. I mean, yeah, they survived some stuff, but yeah, Kofi Kingston. At least he had a banger theme song. I thought it was sick. But then,
And then his taunt was still over. The boom was still over.
yeah,
If he wasn't,
boom, boom, exactly. That move set, that specific finish, I think also helped him. Besides just being, I think a good wrestler. And charismatic, and again, like it was 2009, and he's using like a fake Jamaican accent. I mean, a lot of it is like Vince McMahon's like creative vision at that point, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I'm glad that he moved on into the New Day.
Was Kozlov actually Russian?
That's a good question.
I love double E.
Yeah.
Santino Marella was he just was an American. He wasn't like some guy from Milan, the Milan Miracle. debuts in the crowd and then wins the IC title.
Had me fooled for a second.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I was a
Yeah.
stupid teenager, but I thought that was cool. I mean, I think his character, like the absurdity when he turned it into like even more absurd. Well, I guess originally he was like supposed to be just like a straight up a-hole heel, and then he had the whole Beth Phoenix thing. I thought that was kind of funny. That was kind of like their take on like the China Eddie Guerrero kind of thing because it's like a big tough female wrestler, and then you got like the smaller guy who's really cares about her and that, and then he moved into like the snake, the python, the snake. What do they
Cobra.
call it? The cobra. Thank you, Jesus.
None of
The
the
Cobra.
above.
The gardener snake.
The cobra. I mean, I thought that was genius.
The
It was
green
obviously
sock.
ludicrous, but I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, probably a Vince brain thing, but I chuckled at that. So any other? Okay, so wrestling gimmicks, because I went off on a side tangent, but you know what? It's all part of it. Can you remember a gimmick that you originally thought would fail, but ended up being a huge success? And I kind of mentioned the Santino thing, but I'm curious what you guys think. If you have anything, Chris, if you can think of something um, off the top of your head, or if you have something you already know. Do you know a gimmick that you thought would fail, but it was actually a huge success?
Stardust on some level. Like it was kind of over. It was goofy at first or whatever, but I personally it's a guilty pleasure of mine, the Stardust
It
thing.
started Cody chants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
I think what
remember he would
meant to
scream like a
be,
banshee?
I don't know if it was a punishment or whatever, but it definitely was like a gimmick that kind of went over in an organic way, I would say, with the fans.
I wouldn't call it a huge success though.
I mean, didn't he have tag team titles? Did they have tag team titles with Goldust?
Yeah, but like he was, it still felt. I mean, I guess depends on what you consider a huge success, because he was not winning the world championship with that gimmick. You know, like he was not going main event with Stardust. You know, if you compare his current run, like that's a huge success. Like you can't say like that is also. I mean, I guess relatively speaking, it's a success because he won gold,
Right.
if that's the measuring stick. But I don't know, the 24/7 title, a lot of people won that gold.
That's
Um,
true.
so I don't know.
New Day
I could
started
kinda
off
see it.
rocky.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. I when they first started off, like it was like a weird Baptist thing
Inspired team.
initially. Yeah, when they were doing like the vignettes before New Day came out and all that stuff. I mean, I thought it was also going to fail because I was like, I don't know what we're doing with this. Where is this gonna go? And I don't know if this must have been Xavier Woods, Big E's, and Kofi's like idea about turning them into like what they enjoy doing, like the gaming stuff, just the goofiness of like their own personality just coming through, and like just their nerdiness persona, like the anime, the video games, all that kind of stuff. Really just kind of made them super popular. I mean, I couldn't imagine what from what it initially started to what it was. That's a really good example. But I don't know how many of them are there. Andres, do you have one? Because I can't think of too many.
I was thinking of like Brodus Clay, the Funkasaurus. Like I don't know. Like he had a pretty
That
good run.
stinker?
You know? He had a WrestleMania moment. I think he won gold in the tag team partner when he was with who was it? Albert or what was his name?
Former
Uh,
NWA champ.
Prince Albert?
Yeah, wasn't he teamed up with him for a little bit?
Good question. I mean, I don't know.
He had like a small stable, but I thought that gimmick was kind of lame. But the people were kind of over with it. I thought, though, honestly, like he even had a WrestleMania moment with it too, and shit. I was just like, damn, this is kind of like taking off a little.
Yeah, apparently some of the crowd was into it. I mean, I thought it was still a stinker. because like when the vignettes, like he again, like it was like super serious, like I'm gonna kill you kind of vignettes,
Mhm.
and then they debut him, and then it's like it felt like I was on acid because that's not what they were promoting. And then this dude comes out in like bright red pants, a fedora, like a rip away jacket or whatever, and he's got like two dancers and like go-go boots, and you know one of them's Naomi, so that kind of worked out for her.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I got one.
yeah.
I would say Tony Storm's iteration with the movie star stuff. At first, it's like, okay, movie gimmick. Like, we didn't know where it was going to kind of go. But if you just kind of let her cook, it was probably the best thing she's ever done.
It's
Yeah.
still going.
And it's
Yeah,
still
yeah,
going.
still going.
It's like literally the best thing I think she's done as far as
Number one. Rest of
overall
the year.
character work. I mean, in like modern age, like having this kind of just super,
Yeah. She really embodied
character.
it, really, yeah. And then
I
they
like-
still keep up with the tradition of making her character in like in black and white filter, even just in regular photos and shit.
Mm.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
I didn't think Orange Cassidy would keep up this type of longevity.
Yeah,
Was what-
that's fair to say.
Because, I mean, AEW's kind of thrown Hail Marys at funny gimmicks like that with like him, Danhausen, Luigi Primo.
That's true.
Yo, where's Luigi
I know.
Primo at?
I make good pizza.
Hey,
That's why he's not there. He's making pizza.
What do you think of Tony D'Angelo's gimmick?
The Don?
Yeah, the Don.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, to on one to what like it honestly depends on the person because they've had those kinds of gimmicks before where it's like the I mean, stereotype for lack of a better word, I guess. Like you're Italian, you're a mafia boss kind of person. His font is like the Godfather type stuff. I remember the Greaser tag team, Deuce and Domino.
Hey, Deuce and Domino.
With Cherry.
One of them's Damian Sandow.
No way.
I'm pretty sure.
I think it definitely looks like him. Oh, that's another one that reminds me of that I'll bring up in a second. But like with Deuce and Domino and Cherry, I actually thought they were over for a little bit. And they
that
won the tag titles.
07, 08 time period on SmackDown.
Yeah, it was like 07, 08, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was a good gimmick, but I do think I guess it had like a short lifespan. But I like when they first debuted, I'm like, okay, like 1950s Gracers, it's like 2007, like what are you doing? But I mean I thought it was cool.
Jimmy Wang Yang, baby. Yo, that's
the same era, Jimmy Wang Yang. Yeah, exactly.
He was kind of over. Wasn't he Intercontinental champ?
I think he won a cruiserweight too. I mean, like dude can go.
Yeah, I mean, like he was. I think he was over to a certain degree. Paul Burchill had a really short stint. Like that's also kind of same era. He was the pirate for a bit. And then
Yo, I was all about that shit. I loved him.
Yeah, but then they made like the incest like brother with what's her
Thanks,
face?
Vince.
Yeah, like he just had to make it weird. I mean, I guess like that's another one. Like I guess Vince just didn't think Paul Burchill as a pirate was cool enough. So, and Kizarny, do you remember Kizarny? He like lasted for like a month, maybe.
Rosebuds.
Well, that's a
Oh
different.
Yeah, Kizarny.
Something Rose. Forgot the guy.
Yeah, there were some that were like they really hyped that shit up, and then it just like deflated.
That was
like
bad. That was really bad. I remember seeing his bus on the side of the Allstate.
The Rosebud, the
Rosebud, yeah.
Got Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss out of that.
Yeah. You're right. Oh, the one thing that I originally thought would fail, but was actually pretty entertaining was Damian Sandow being the Miz's like stunt double. I thought that was
pretty
actually pretty entertaining.
Miz
like,
Dow.
Miz basically was like kind of like Johnny Cage type person at that point. I mean, I guess that was kind of his thing the whole time, but he's kind of
It was
molded it, and it was different because before it was like reality TV, douchebag, whatever, and then he turned into like a list or a Z-lister who thinks he's an A-lister.
because he had filmed The Marine,
Yes, with the Marine 4 or something, if I'm mistaken.
The
It's like
Marine
a DVD.
6000.
Yeah, it was in a Best Buy value bin for like 99 cents or
Yeah.
whatever.
We didn't even put it on the shelves. They just told us dump it in the bin.
Nah, dump it in the bin. Like they had like a box of shit, and you're just like, woo,
Yeah.
just put it in the bin.
Mixed in
candy.
there with Tybo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tybo and like kids
He said
cartoons.
Tybo.
And
Like
he
Barbie
came out and
Barbie
said-
DVDs and
he
Tybo.
said, I'm George Clooney after that. Right after, yeah. That was wild.
Billy Blanks, baby.
Yeah.
3MB. They were kind of.
Oh, 3MB. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, because I did think that was a terrible gimmick, but they made it work to a certain degree because it was also still like you couldn't get past a certain ceiling. Like you were jobbers, but you were entertaining jobbers, I guess, and I guess that counts for something.
Where's Jinder, bro?
Gender, well,
Is he not on
Let me-
contract anymore? Right?
uh,
He's been released.
good question.
He's in the Indies.
Oh,
He
he's
showed
in the
up.
Indies?
He showed up for Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling that I was watching. What was that, 2 weekends ago? He
Yeah.
showed up. He's shown up for like others, like House of Glory, Black Label Pro. He's done a couple GCW dates,
Got to see him when he comes around again, if he does.
right?
I kind of want to go see that show in Elmwood Park. Was it in December? Do you remember?
CSW.
With Matt
yeah.
Cardona? Yeah. I would see that. I mean, that's
Elmwood
like,
Park, where?
Yeah, it's at the Circle. Like I think
For
they're like
real?
Village Hall. Yeah.
Damn, I'm
Matt
down.
Cardona's main eventing.
I am so down.
Yeah. I think I'm actually.
That's somebody who had a gimmick and made it work and had to deal with repercussions of making his fucking bullshit work.
Yes, you're right. Zack Ryder. I mean, that whole like internet champion era. He was basically making an audience for himself by just like doing his own YouTube videos and stuff. I mean, props to him. He's still doing it. Like he's still trying to make his own indie god, the whole indie god thing. I mean, he's still
Figure
chugging
collector.
along.
Now he even makes his own action figures.
Yeah.
Major bendies.
I mean, he's found his niche. I mean, props to him. I think he's awesome. Well, so we said gimmicks that you originally thought would fail but ended up being a huge success. Let's go to the worst wrestling gimmicks. So, what's the worst gimmick you've ever seen, and why do you think it failed? Was it the concept, execution, the performer's ability to sell it? You can give me your responses for your reasons why it failed. But Chris, what do you think? What's the worst gimmick you've ever seen?
Ever seen?
I mean, yeah, I mean, in your eyes, I guess we have seen like Shockmaster clips.
Like me personally, not like something I didn't really watch, right?
Well,
Or overall.
yeah. Up to you. However you feel like responding to that.
Probably Eugene.
Eugene's pretty bad.
Eugene, that is
Yeah,
pretty
you-
bad.
Eugene was pretty bad. You know, I mean, it's funny. I guess it was funny.
I mean, at the time, it was over. Like for a lot of people, like did people think it was bad at the time? I don't even remember. I just remember him vaguely on Raw, and I saw him as like a SmackDown versus Raw character. You know,
For every 2 people that thought it was funny, 4 people found it extremely in the wrong direction.
Right.
I mean
Jesus.
that was wild. I remember like I think his that gimmick was like on the ass end, like on the way out, because like I remember he was still around when like the 06 DX came out.
Yeah.
He was being attacked. Yeah.
And then there was a mini game in at least the PSP versions of SVR where like you had to help him guide himself down the ring while he did the airplane thing, and he'd like fall over, and like the whole point was to make sure he didn't fucking tip over.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was-
And like his Titantron was like his name was written in crayons and his E was backwards.
Yo, his
I know.
theme song had no business going that hard though. That
Yeah, his theme
song
was
is
a banger.
hard.
he had that Andy font for
Yeah.
his name.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, I mean, throw Durag Vince in there while we're at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I consider that as a wrestling gimmick. Yeah, entertaining, like because of the absurdity, sure, but it was definitely one of the worst like gimmicks you can do. Like you're doing this on national television. You're the owner of the company, and you're like trying to speak like like
One step forward, 10 steps back.
yeah, and he's like, you know what? I'm the owner of the company. I can say the N word on TV. And was it on pay-per-view or was it like on actual like cable television? I don't remember.
Are you talking about the one with the interaction with John Cena? That wasn't even
then,
like
and
Durag
then
Vince.
Booker T wasn't. Well, why was he saying it? What was the reason?
There is no reason.
I think it was just literally because Booker T was right there,
Oh
and
my god!
maybe because John Cena kind of had that rapper gimmick a little bit. I think that was like Chain Gang era John Cena.
Yeah. Matt Hardy recently had said that like he used to rap in the back with John Cena sometimes, and like one day, like Vince was like, "Oh, you should rap too," and he wanted them to have like a rap battle and use words they prefer not to, and Matt was just like, "No."
Good for him.
Yeah, Matt was like, "I'm not doing that."
Yeah, that's insane. Or you know what? With the Durag Vince, he was just doing stuff like "What up, Holmes? What up, G?"
Yeah,
That's
what
what
up,
he
G?
just did.
He dap up like this.
Yeah.
Man.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
He'd like,
He's insane.
and,
That is a worst wrestling gimmick. Andres, can you think of a worst wrestling gimmick you've ever seen?
I wouldn't say one that I absolutely hated as a kid, but I actually appreciate him because he actually, as I got older, he stuck it out pretty well, and that was Disco Inferno.
oh, everyone hates that guy.
That's a
Yeah,
hot
I
take.
hated it. I never like, but like as I got older, I'm like, you know what, man, he did his shit. He stuck it
Yeah.
out for a long while. He even got in the Wolf Pack at some point. I don't know why, but that's some
Being friends with the boys.
Yeah.
right? It was just like that was a gimmick I was not really sold over. So
Like
I thought that
Cody,
was kind of dumb.
like Cody Rhodes told him while Cody was in the Indies. He said, "I don't listen to." He said, "You've never sold a single ticket. You're just the benefit of being friends with the boys."
Does somebody know who played the Kevin Nash Scott Hall knockoffs on WWF? Like
Was
in the
that Kane?
Kane was Diesel.
Oh, was it? That's funny.
Rick Brockner was the guy who played Scott Hall. I don't know what his actual wrestler name was, but I know that was his real name because when Scott Hall died, people were showing the fake Scott Hall and putting like R.I.P.
Oh my god.
I was like, what the fuck?
They're like, "You got the wrong Scott Hall."
But yeah.
What about you,
But,
David? What the worst wrestling gimmick you've ever seen?
Fat chick thriller Mike Awesome,
Oh, yeah.
or that
Yeah,
'70s
yeah.
guy Mike Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And this is somebody that like for me, I actually got to watch Mike Awesome as a kid, with ECW, just because I grew up with a uncle that was a mark. So like he had ECW tapes and New Japan tapes and stuff like that, or All Japan, I should say, because he was in All Japan. But
Mm-hmm.
seeing someone like Mike Awesome like have matches with like Taz, RVD, people like that, and then coming out one day on Nitro in like a '70s suit or being a fat chick thriller, it was a big contrast in change of like overall character. Like Mike Awesome was kind of like I want to say like a Gunther type heavyweight, and then like he just like lost all his aura very, very quickly.
I'll
I
say
forgot about that.
for like I mean, like I saw Attitude Era documentaries, and I can't like I didn't watch it live personally, but I mean like the Beaver cleavage stuff. And he also had like a gimmick where he was like an abuser. I mean, like that's just wild. Like
Mm.
if I had to personally like add stuff to the list, like I feel like that would be undeniably on the list of some of the worst gimmicks that they thought. It's a different era, but like I feel like even in that era, it wasn't exactly taken reacted to great because I don't think they even lasted that long, did it? No, it's like
I remember my uncle's like just overall disgust because like he used to work nights, and I used to go to his room and just keep an eye on recording WCW while I watched WWF in the living room.
yeah.
And like I just remember like around Mike Awesome time, I'd probably seen him like once or twice, and then he was just like, "You don't have to record WCW anymore."
Huh.
The one and done.
Like after around then, like one day it was just like we're not watching WCW anymore.
I forgot about that though. That was really dumb. Yeah, I forgot about that. I do
Yeah.
remember seeing it too, like seeing it on Nitro.
Like Mike Awesome was like in a great place before he took WCW money.
Yeah.
There's another one. Oh, I guess gobbledygooker is an obvious one, like the chicken egg one. I mean, there was a whole list of people. I mean, I didn't watch it, but during like the mid '90s, I mean, I would consider terrible wrestling gimmicks. I will honestly say I don't like Hornswoggle as a wrestling gimmick. I just felt like anytime he had a segment, it really just kind of took me out of a lot of the things. Like he
Do you
was
remember his first name?
the bastard, little
Little
bastard,
bastard. Yeah.
little bastard.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like when he was like Finley's, like I don't know, was he
Leprechaun.
a son? Was he a leprechaun? I mean, I just thought
Yeah, it
that
was a
was
leprechaun.
wild. Like again, I'm like, I thought you guys left us behind in the mid '90s, and you're like bringing out a freaking leprechaun. I mean, like that, like that was
And
like.
I mean, that was also the same time Mexicans were coming out on tractors.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I guess wrestling, I guess, has peaks and valleys, but this was, yeah, peaks and valleys in Vince's brain. I'll say that because I don't think they bring that back unless the performers themselves want to, do something like that. But I doubt it. I doubt they would do something to that level. But yeah, I mean, like they did like the WLC stuff, and I don't know. I feel like he says that he liked the gimmicks and stuff, but I feel like to a certain degree. I mean, what is he gonna say? I just didn't like.
There's another gimmick like doomed to fail was the Mexicals. Took three of the best cruiserweights in the world and made them idiots.
Yep, that was another bad decision.
Like
Even
super
if they were
crazy.
good wrestlers.
Super Crazy had a singles career in ECW. Like Juventud held his own in ECW. Like Psychosis held his own in ECW, WCW. Like, and they just kind of like threw all that away. Like you could have had a cruiserweight division when it was already pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, they just made them look like chumps after WCW.
That was Vince's thing, though. Take whoever was cool from there and ruin it.
Yeah, I mean, like that was like the running joke. You always like same thing with like Karrion Cross, for example. And this is like a more recent one, but like he had a NXT. I mean, right now, I feel like he's. I don't know if it's going anywhere, if it's gonna be successful, but at least it's like I guess more interesting than putting him in like a gladiator helmet or something and bondage gear. I don't know what he was thinking with that, but yeah, another bad idea. Do you
Anybody
feel?
Glacier
Yeah.
wrestling?
What's that? Glacier?
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyone see him
I,
actually
I
wrestle?
I remember seeing it online, but I didn't witness Glacier. Although it's
Yeah,
kind
it
of
was-
cool because it's like Sub-Zero.
I remember he had like a really long theatric entrance.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, Mortal Kombat was really popular then, so I guess they did a lot of those kind of like taking advantage of the zeitgeist type stuff. Um, I mean, RoboCop, I guess, was just promotion, but they had like a Arachna Man that was supposed to look like Spider-Man. That was terrible. Like yellow up to here, and then purple all around. I think Marvel even gave him a cease and desist and didn't do
Oh
Arachna
damn.
Man anymore.
Good.
Um, let's see. All right, let's go to reinventions. And I'll try to wrap up. Honestly, I had like a whole bunch of questions, so this might be another podcast segment in the future. So I'll end on reinventions of characters. So which wrestler's reinvention has impressed you guys the most, and what do you think makes their evolution so compelling? Andres, do you have one in mind, a wrestler and their evolution of gimmick character?
Yeah, current one right now, the OPC Roman Reigns.
Okay.
He's definitely his gimmick's definitely really gone much better than when because when he was in the Shield, obviously like they were all like we all looked at them pretty much like all equal and stuff. But then when he got into the singles time, like what he was like terrible on the mic. They had John Cena pretty much come in and like kind of like embarrass him and stuff. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden he's with Paul Heyman. He's just completely reinvented and he's amazing now.
Yeah, I mean that's also a case of probably like he wasn't being himself necessarily. I feel like his current character is a little closer to, I mean, his own person. And I mean, he was also kind of fighting up against people's disdain for WWE just trying to shove a person down their throats when there were other people at the time that they preferred. So I think that was kind of working against them because when they were in the Shield, I mean, that was like one of the hottest, if not the hottest faction in the past 2 decades at the time. You know, the Shield
Mhm.
was like super popular. Like I remember when they debuted, I thought that was like amazing. And this was like not too long after the Nexus, and the Nexus was like something that was so compelling, and then that kind of crashed and burned. But
I was actually there when they debuted. It was in
Nexus,
Indianapolis. No, the Shield.
oh damn, that's cool.
Yeah, we didn't know what the hell was going on. We just see like these three dudes come out in tactical gear and like attack like the main event. And then
Yeah,
there was like nothing explained. They were like, "Yo, what was that?" But they had no idea that going
The
forward
big
from that,
boss
we saw
man.
the debut.
the big boss man
The big boss man.
from the
He's back.
rafters with the
Yeah.
news.
He's watching.
I mean, like
But yeah,
honestly, like Vince McMahon, I feel like 90% of his attempts was crap in terms of like creating some things. But I mean, like when he gets something right, I mean that the Shield really hit, I gotta say. And
oh
it
yeah.
made all three of them like superstars. Like all three of them went on to be multiple time champions. And they all evolved after the Shield. I think they had one or two reunions, like very briefly.
hmm
But yeah, I mean, like all three of them evolved into their own character. This cat doesn't know what she wants. Um, Chris, what about you? What do you think in terms of wrestler reinventions? Who has impressed you the most?
I mean, Chris Jericho, just by the sheer number of reinventions he's done. You know
Yep.
what I mean? The Learning Tree, the
I mean,
Ocho,
yeah,
Painmaker.
the list of like the wrestling moves he did in WCW, I feel like he could do that with all his like mottos and sayings now, like all the things that he's created. You got to give him that, right?
I mean, even if it's like, I don't think any of his gimmicks were even like, they were over even somewhat. You know what I mean? Like every single one had a little bit of a hint of, like he had some kind of a belt strapped to him or whatever. Now he's Ring of Honor. Is he Ring of Honor world champ right now?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, what can you say?
Good for him. Works for him, brother.
The Nueve, baby.
Yeah, no, it's the Nueve.
Is he saying that too? Or
He
no?
will.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I bet he will. But
I'd
that's
say
a good one.
I bring up Tony Storm as well. Like I can't get over Tony Storm's gimmick. I think like coming from, you know, Australian badass chick and then
Yeah, what was she
whatever.
before? Like a jock with like face paint with a backwards cap and
Just kind of
vague,
edgy
vague
punk girl.
lesbian. Uh,
Yeah, just edgy punk girl, and then they did the Outcast stuff, and then yeah, then it just complete 180. Throw in a Hollywood Hulk in there.
Wood.
that's one of
Would.
the biggest, most successful, I think, wrestling evolutions. It's just him going from face to heel. I mean, yeah, it's like, Mickey Mouse becoming Hitler or something. I don't know. like that's insane. 'Cause, like, can you imagine like growing up and
Yeah, and the mouse is behind all the.
you know what? Some people might say he is Hitler, so maybe that's a bad comparison. But
I think it's the guy that drew him. It's okay.
that's true. But yeah, just imagine like if you grew up in the 80s, like you're a child in the 80s, and then like this tall 6, almost 7 foot man with like yellow tights, like comic book character looking guy telling you to take your vitamins and all that. And then he's just being like, screw you, I did it for the money, brother. And then he leg drops, his friend. And then, yeah, and then all the trash gets rained down on him. That's a wild, wild turn and lightning in a bottle. So that's definitely one of the ones that I remember seeing. And then, even I guess the switch back, which isn't, I don't know if it's an evolution, but I guess it's a return to a previous gimmick that also still worked, because sometimes some people go back to their old gimmick and it doesn't necessarily work. It might give you a little nostalgia hit, but that's it.
Mr.
David,
America.
what about, yeah, well, that was not I think that was just a joke because of the whole, I think Vince banned him or whatever, but he didn't ban Mr. America. I mean, that was a ridiculous segment too. They took a lie detector.
The lie detector? No, brother, I'm not Mr. America. Or I'm not Hulk Hogan.
Wild shit. Some dude in the back of the sound effects booth just hitting that button. Man. All right, okay, David, what about you? What do you think? Wrestler and reinventions, who has impressed you the most?
Cody Rhodes.
Yep.
He had a shitty gimmick
Mm.
that was so bad that he quit his job. And
Yep.
he went and wrestled everybody that wasn't under WWE's roof. Like people like Kurt Angle and any other indie darling at the time. And changed everything for himself as well as a whole generation of wrestlers.
Yeah, honestly, like the wrestling landscape. I mean, like he was integral
Yeah.
into creating this new alternative, which has, no one can deny that it hasn't affected just the way wrestlers are thought about in terms of like their input, their value, just the ability to, like, if you feel like you're not comfortable here, you could go somewhere who can pay you just as well, if not even more, because they might want you even more. I mean, it's great, and he was very integral in that. I mean, I
He's
don't
also
know. Yeah.
he's also like really big. I think he's helped like the really modern like gray area type characters.
Hmm.
Because like one thing that like a big thing with him in Bullet Club was like he was a bad guy. Bullet Club's obviously a bad guy or like a bad faction, and there that's kind of where like all the melodrama that always happens with like the elite kind of came from,
Hmm.
where it's like oh these bad guys are fighting like who's really a bad guy, things like that.
Did you feel like when he, I mean, so the American Nightmare was, that was
A heel.
already like in his indie career, right? Like he was the
Yeah.
American Nightmare.
And that was a heel.
I mean, I don't remember him. I remember him doing things on the indie scene, but I wasn't listening, like paying attention too closely. I wasn't sure if you had an opinion on whether you thought the American Nightmare gimmick was gonna work. If you felt like that was,
I thought it was cool from the go. He kind of presented it in that like New Japan-esque kind of fashion, where it's just like I mean that in like how they kind of shoot their vignettes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you ever seen like when Jericho challenged Omega, it's like that kind of like overall cinematography where it's like you're presenting something that everybody knows, but it's new.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cool shots on like just like his house, you know, his suits, and like that was kind of like his whole thing was that like the American Nightmare. Like to me, that's kind of like Geese Howard from King of Fighters,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's how I feel like Cody really had presented American Nightmare before he got to WWE.
That's a good way of looking at it. What do you think about his neck tattoo?
I think it's perfectly fine because I think where Cody was in terms of just like I need to do something that kind of like he always says it like he's like, yeah, my dad would kill me if he's seen this.
Yeah, honestly, I can't imagine him without it. That just kind of feels like his I don't know,
Brand.
his trademark, his brand. I mean, it is his brand. That's his logo that he wears everywhere, and it's on his freaking
Neck.
body, tattooed on his body. So, yeah, I mean, like I wasn't sure about it because of the weird placement, but you know, it works, it fits. You know, I eat my words.
I think he said he
yeah.
didn't think it was gonna be that big.
This when he got the tattoo, or do you just
Yeah.
mean like, oh,
Yeah, but it's like they show you an outline before they get going, bro.
Yeah, don't they put
right.
that shit on your skin first and be like, you like that placement?
Placement, you're like,
Yeah.
Fucking free-handed it.
Right.
There you go, kid. Oh, you said your dusty son, $1,200.
Damn, freehand. I mean, those are some straight ass lines, though. That'd be crazy.
$2,500.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.